Hi, this is Ms. Schnettler, and this is going to be my super fast how to do Happy Cube creating the solution. I don't have very long to record this video. So this is the assignment. It has a picture of the design cycle on it, and it will eventually also have a copy of this video on it. If I click the document to open it, make sure you're clicking that blue link if that's what the directions on Canvas say when you are reading this. Canvas can change from year to year. There are some pretty short instructions in the front. The first thing you have to do is create your plan. How are you going to make your Happy Cube modification? This needs to be completed before you can begin to create your modification. So I will ask to see this before you start building. I will approve you to build if in general it looks like you've thought through a plan. That does not mean that I am grading you at that point in time and giving you an A. It's just saying I think you've thought about it enough to get started building. So of course we got the directions up here. We have your plan here, the other sections, and then we have your rubric, your IB achievement level scale, and your IB command terms. So if we look at Roman numeral 1, it says constructs a logical plan which shows efficient use of time and resources, people, skills, tools, materials, sufficient for other kids to be able to build your Happy Cube modification. So a 7 and an 8 score is always achievable, but it's usually above and beyond work. You have to have a really detailed plan. It has to be detailed enough that someone else can build your Happy Cube modification. It has to be detailed enough to tell me what the people, skills, tools, materials being used, or where they are being used, who's doing what tools are being used, what skills are being used, what jobs are getting done. And then this one is you have to be efficient. So you have to be making a good use of your time. Your things need to be thought out ahead of time so you're not doing steps out of order. It's just a really detailed, thorough, good plan. The next step down, which is an achievement level of 5 to 6, is constructs a logical plan which considers time and resources, which is people, skills, tools, materials, sufficient for others to be able to build it. All right, so this doesn't have to be efficient. That's the major difference between it. This has to be efficient. It has to be all in order. It has to make a lot of sense and be really, really detailed. This has to be really detailed and consider all of those things. It just doesn't necessarily have to be efficient. So like when I read it as an adult who's done this project before and watched other kids do this project before, I can tell, oh, those steps are not in a good order or that's not going to happen. That doesn't matter for the 5 to 6. That's okay. For the 7 to 8, it would matter that they would need to be in the right order. They would need to make sense. For a 3-4, that is outlining each step in a plan that contains some details resulting in other kids having difficulty building your Happy Cube. So if your plan isn't really detailed, like it's got steps, but there's not really a lot of detail in there, other people aren't going to know what to do, then that would be a 3-4. And then Roman numeral 1 does not have an option for level 1 and 2. So if you don't outline each step, and again, outline is a brief account, so there should be some detail in there. How do I know outline is a brief account? Because I come down here, outline, brief account, construct, display information in a diagrammatic or logical form. So if you don't outline each step, I can't score you at a 1 or a 2, it goes straight down to 0. So be careful about that. If we read the directions, again, it says it has to be completed, and then there are some additional instructions in that section. It says construct a plan. Your plan can be a diagram, a paragraph, a list, a grid, any other logical presentation of your ideas. And I pulled that term logical presentation from the definition of construct a plan, or from the command term definition of construct. A table has been provided for you, but you don't have to use it. Please feel free to add rows to the table if you need them. If you don't need the table, you can delete it. You should definitely have more than 3 steps. I was just getting you started. So what I'm talking about is this table here. You might call it a chart or a table. This is what I was talking about. So I've gotten you started with step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You don't have to have steps. That's not in the rubric. That's just to help keep things in order in your mind as you're going along. Time needed, you're going to be estimating. You've never made this before. You don't know exactly how long it's going to take. That's okay. You're going to estimate how long it takes for you to do something. This is the task. What task is it? What skills are you using to get it done? So maybe you're gathering supplies. Well, that's going to be a skill of being organized, listing out what you need, finding what you need, putting it all together. Maybe you are cutting it. You might be using power tool skills or X-Acto knife skills. Who's doing it? In this case, currently right now, it's a single person project, so this would just be you in every spot, but fill it in because that's a thing you're supposed to talk about. If because of the pandemic you are home, or in the future it's a person pair project, think about what each person is doing. That's a really good way to be efficient. You should not be doing the same thing as the other person. You should be cutting, the other person should be gluing. You should be gluing, the other person is doing this. If you're all doing the same step at the same time, that's not efficient. But if you are at home and you can get somebody to help you, that's fine. Give your family members jobs. I'm okay with that. The tools and materials. This is what you're using in each step. So maybe it's foam and scissors in one step. Maybe it's paint and paintbrush and water and a cup in another step. I don't know your plan. You want to make sure it's really, really detailed. You can add, if you decide to use this chart, which I provided because it has the time, the skill, the person, and the tools and materials, which comes up in the rubric a lot. So it's just an easy way to make sure you've got everything you need. But if you don't like it, you don't have to use it, right? You can write a paragraph. You can make your own plan. You can make a list, you can make a grid, you can make a diagram. That's totally up to you as long as it's a logical presentation of your ideas. If you do use the table, you can use the tab key, and when you get to the end of the table, it will add a new row. Or you can right click and insert a row above or below. Or if you decide you don't need those rows, you can highlight them, right click, and delete extra ones. So just because not everybody uses the table, I didn't have this out as a bazillion steps, but you should definitely have more than 3 if you're looking to score well. You don't have to write anything for this. This is just me. I will watch while you were building, or if I'm unable to watch while you were building, I will look at your final product and I will judge your technical skills based on that. Follow your plan and design diagram. That's another thing. This is your plan. And we're going to go with alliteration here. People plan. People plan. The plan is for people. The diagram is for your design. Again, alliteration, using the same letter, design diagram. So I need your diagram from the previous assignment, from developing ideas. It should be a multi-view drawing of your puzzle piece. You're going to put that there. It's just copy paste, super simple. Then you're going to, when you're done building, put a picture of your puzzle piece right there. And that way I can see the diagram and the final product right next to each other. And you also can see your drawing and your final product right next to each other. The last part is you have to explain the changes to the plan and the design. The plan is people. The design is the drawing. It's super important. You have to have both. Explain your changes made to the plan and anything different from your product. So if we scroll back down to the rubric, explains changes made to the chosen design different from the planning diagram and the plan when making the Happy Cube modification. Again, explain is a detailed account, including reasons or causes. So a detailed account, that's going to generally be a pretty detailed paragraph. And you need to say like, okay, I did this different because. I did this different because. I was going to use wood, but I switched to foam because. I was going to use regular glue, but I switched to hot glue because. So make sure you're including all those becauses in there. But you also need to talk about how your design may have changed. So you got to talk about both. Here it's outline. Outline is a lot less. It's a brief account. You don't have to have reasons. You can just say, here are the changes I made, but it's a brief account. So it still needs to be kind of like a short paragraph of the changes you made to your actual puzzle piece and to what you, the person, were doing. And then the next one, the 3 or a 4, is outline, which is again, short paragraph about either what happened differently with your design or your plan. So, sorry, I'm trying to film this right before class starts. So you got to have both. You got to talk to what happened differently from your plan. Maybe you added steps. Maybe you did something out of order. Maybe something took twice as long as you thought it was going to. You have to talk about your plan. That's your plan. What did the people do differently than you thought? And then the design. what went different from what you drew to what you actually made. And you want to explain, you want to put all those details in. If you try to pull the, oh, everything went perfect. Really? Did it? Because most of the time things don't go perfectly. This is your first time doing it. Things should go differently. I will have an issue with that. So you need to make sure that even if it did magically go exactly like you drew and exactly like you planned out, you can still talk about that. You can still talk about how it went. And make sure, sorry about the bell. Make sure that you talk about both of them because that affects your score. And that's it. I hope this was helpful.